Yo, welcome back to another video. We ready to get right back into it. Let's get it, man. We got this video right here. This is DC movies James Gunn situation. I'm excited to see what's going on. So let's get right to it. Here we go. 1 second.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Just a day after I spoke to James Gunn one-on-one, Warner Brothers dropped a huge bomb. They were putting the whole studio up for sale to the highest bidder. All of you started asking me the logical follow-up question: if Warner Brothers is selling the entire studio, how does this affect James Gunn and his DCU? There have been a ton of upcoming movies and TV shows that he has announced. He was talking about Man of Tomorrow when I was talking to him. A couple of the other movies, like they have Batman Brave and the Bold coming up, the Supergirl movie, Clayface. There are many other things he's announced. As he was talking with me and other YouTubers, he said he had literally just finished the 4th draft of Man of Tomorrow, and they were doing pre-production. He was working on costumes, and they were going to start production, actually filming around the same time that Matt Reeves was filming the Batman 2 with Robert Pattinson next year. So naturally, a lot of people were just wondering, what does this mean for the future of the DCU if somebody else buys the company? Does that mean that they're just going to turn around and fire James Gunn the minute they get everything that they want? We'll go through all the details on this. Everything that's been going on behind the scenes has been pretty well documented. Even James Gunn and David Zaslav himself have both talked about what's going on. Even though it sounds absolutely chaotic, it's not that complicated. So if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. Starting at the beginning here, in order to understand what's going on, you need to know the wider issue. Warner Brothers, which owns DC Studios, where we're talking about all the James Gunn stuff, just put itself up for sale to anyone who has tens of billions of dollars lying around in your couch cushions. So if you have tens of billions of dollars that you can loan me so I can buy Warner Brothers, please let me know. Right now, the list of people most likely to buy them are Skydance, who just bought Paramount, which is why you're seeing all the Paramount news, Paramount buying Warner Brothers. Technically, it's Skydance. Skydance are the ones with the deep pockets. There's NBC Universal, or Universal if you want to think about them that way, Apple, Amazon, and Netflix. Those are really the only people that Warner Brothers cares about or has the actual money to pay for Warner Brothers. Most likely, though, it's going to wind up either being Skydance, Paramount, Apple, or Amazon, because Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix, pulled a Jon Snow recently, Game of Thrones style, saying he doesn't want it. Like, Netflix does not want Warner Brothers. What this will likely mean, though, is that you'll see a couple streaming services merge in the background, like HBO Max will eventually merge with whatever streaming service for the company that winds up buying it. But the reason for all this chaos that you're seeing the last several years, the reason why Warner Brothers is selling itself off, is just coming down to money. It's always squeezing as much money out of their movies and TV shows as possible. So it's just a bunch of business suits trying to make more money on stuff.
Billions, with a B.
Regardless of who buys Warner Brothers, it will be bad for art. It will only benefit the people who own the company on a financial level, like who own shares in the company. Warner Brothers just had a crazy profitable period the last couple of years, so a lot of people were baffled why they'd suddenly turn around and try to carve themselves up as a company and just sell themselves off like a bunch of vultures. DC Studios, James Gunn, all of his movies and TV shows are just a small part of this. My conspiracy theory is that this is all a combination of a financial devastation caused by the failed merger with AT&T several years ago, then the streaming wars compounded by the strikes and federal interest rates on loans rising dramatically after COVID. Without getting too deep into the weeds, Warner Brothers was bought by AT&T back around 2019, I think when the deal finalized, when they tried to launch their own streaming service called HBO Max. There was the chaos of the name changes a couple different times, but it started as HBO Max. That was in May 2020, after all the COVID lockdowns had started. Normally it would cost any company many billions of dollars a year to sustain and build a streaming service, so HBO Max, Disney Plus, all the other new streaming services that launched for the streaming wars during that period, all lost a lot of money for the first few years that they launched. Back at the beginning in 2020, this is not a problem for Warner Brothers because when they borrowed all those billions of dollars to pay for all this stuff, interest rates on loans were extremely low, and they had AT&T money, deep tech bro pockets. Then there were a couple successive debacles, like the CEO at the time, Jason Kilar, put all their movies on streaming because theaters were closed. Ultimately, it proved to be very bad for them financially in the long run because there was a lot of money at the box office that they just left on the floor. AT&T saw how much debt that they were racking up because of the deal, decided that they didn't want Warner Brothers anymore, spun the company off with all the extra debt that they just accumulated trying to build that streaming network, and then they tried to merge with Discovery Networks, which formed Warner Brothers Discovery, which you see right now today. This is actually when David Zaslav came into the equation. As of me posting this video, like a couple years after they hired David Zaslav, they're in the middle of unmerging with Discovery Networks now, which proved to be another failure. So 2 failed mergers back to back.
Are you making stuff for other streaming services?
Both of which wound up costing Warner Brothers hundreds of millions of dollars. So you have about 5 years worth of Warner Brothers on a corporate level just burning giant piles of money, and it had tons of debt at the end of this. So currently, it's spinning off its cable TV networks, which are losing money right now because cable is kind of dying, and passing most of their debt to them, and trying to carve out the streaming side of the business, like all the movies, the TV shows that they make, look way more attractive and profitable to potential buyers. Like, hey, why don't you buy the part of our company that actually does make money? This is actually where David Zaslav becomes a bigger part of the equation. So at the beginning of all this chaos with all the failed mergers and all the extra debt that the company accumulated, when they hit rock bottom post AT&T failed merger, they fired their last CEO and brought in David Zaslav, who everybody mostly knows as the guy who cancels billions of TV shows and movies left and right. He is the reason why they coined the term Batgirl, to Batgirl something. He was hired specifically to make Warner Brothers as profitable as possible, no matter what, and set themselves up for a buyout like what you see is happening with Paramount right now in present day. So basically the last couple of years have been David Zaslav trying to winnow down and get rid of everything that was not making tons of money at Warner Brothers. This is also part of the reason why he specifically hired James Gunn to reboot DC movies back in 2022, because this was still early days of David Zaslav at the time, and he saw this underutilized DC movies and TV shows, like gold dollar signs in his eyes looking at DC like, look at all this untapped IP, how come we're not doing more with this? Naturally, he wanted a Kevin Feige figure to come in and orchestrate all that with a solid business plan, and that wound up being James Gunn and his producing partner, Peter Safran. James Gunn is just the creative side of it. Peter Safran does all the business-related stuff, like he signs all the checks, the human resources, pushes all the paper stuff. So here's where we bring it back around to James Gunn and the DCU and his big reboot of all the movies and TV shows. He's talked about this a lot. He knew what was going on with Warner Brothers' corporate shenanigans, all the chaos with the failed mergers and buyouts, while he was negotiating his contract with them a couple years ago. So part of the idea is that he went into this job running the DCU, planning all the movies and TV shows, knowing that they would probably be sold off to some other company at some point in the next couple of years. Now, he probably didn't know who would wind up buying the company, just that somebody would eventually buy the company. He's not going to take a job doing all this work now, setting up all these movies and TV shows, orchestrating this, if they're just going to turn around and fire him the minute a new merger is done. So his contract probably has a clause in it that whoever buys them has to keep him on contingent upon his performance. So it's not like an ironclad thing that will force anybody to keep him on. It is pretty much the gold standard rule in Hollywood. If you make money, you will not get fired. And in order for that to happen for James Gunn, a bunch of future DC movies like Batman Brave and the Bold, Clayface, Man of Tomorrow, Wonder Woman, their new Justice League movie would all have to bomb one right after the other. Like, they'd all have to underperform badly enough that on a corporate level, they're like, we can't keep spending money on this. We need somebody who can actually earn us money.
Zach, we're not losing touch with the audience, are we? I mean, I gave notes on the goddamn Count Chocula movie this morning. Was the portal green?
So the idea is that he's not going to be asked to leave just because of a merger. It would be theoretically because of his plan and execution of the DCU didn't work on a financial level. And that'll take several years to actually bear out before they can actually say that that's true or false. So the real test for James Gunn really just takes place over about the next 3 to 4 years. And at the end of that, depending on how things have gone in the previous 4, 5, 6 years, he will either stay on or be asked to leave. And based on his plans so far that he's announced, I don't see any kind of Batman movie, for example, with Batman in the title bombing. Superman made enough money to make David Zaslav happy. I think there's a lot of questions about how
Only
profitable it was,
place
but
I
if he
see a
made David
bomb is
Zaslav happy,
online.
and he's one of the most
Outside of
evil
that, shit
people
do good.
in the world, if you're making evil people happy,
Please,
you're probably doing an okay job.
or most people.
James Gunn's already said that his plan for Phase 1 of the DCU, Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, has already changed a lot since he originally announced it, but that's just him adapting the movies and TV shows to min-max for the stuff that seems like the biggest bangers. James Gunn's policy right now is basically bangers only. This is part of the reason why the Authority movie might not wind up happening after all. He also said that there was an Arkham Asylum TV show that didn't wind up working out, like a Batman TV show about Arkham Asylum that just didn't work out,
Yeah,
which
that
is
would've
probably
worked.
a nice way of saying that the scripts probably sucked. So you get the idea. Just because it's a Batman-associated
I feel
TV
like
show,
John
he's not going
got
to force it
turned
out
to
the
the
door.
best
He's not
movie.
going to force a Wonder Woman movie or
Batman
even his
show,
Batman Brave and the Bold
which
movie
Batman is
before
probably
he
not gonna be
thinks that
in
they're solid enough to actually
until like
make.
the finale.
All to avoid another
It's right there
Justice
with
League
Gotham.
Whedon cut
Still haven't seen
situation,
it.
basically an example of a real peak movie forced out the door before it was ready and it being a complete disaster. All you had to do was just wait a couple months so that Henry Cavill could shave that mustache. Real talk though, there were many, many things that were bad about the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League, not just the Henry Cavill mustache situation. Speaking of which, people were also asking if this Warner Brothers news means Zack Snyder is coming back. James Gunn is not leaving, but he has said in the past he's down to work with Zack Snyder on new DC movies or TV shows if Zack Snyder wants to, which is to say it's an open door policy at DC Studios. Zack Snyder is mostly content right now though doing his own thing, making his own original IP movies instead of playing in somebody else's sandbox. But it's a never say never kind of situation. Like
I
you could
think
always
Zack Snyder
eventually
made that
see
last
a
movie
Zack
with
Snyder
his-
DC Elseworlds
somebody that
movie
died.
inside James Gunn's DC Studios.
Those
James
be
Gunn.
like his
Oh, hi,
20
Zack Snyder.
Just saw your new cut of Superman, and word of advice, he's the man of steel, not the man of conversation.
Personally, I would love to see an absolute universe in adult animation, like absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman. Just do it as Elseworlds. You let Zack Snyder come in and do something like that. He would be perfect for the absolute universe. Everybody post all your reactions in the comments below. And if you do have questions that I didn't address
still
during the
ain't
video or
seen Static
specific things,
Shock.
just write them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Just because of the crazy
take
nature of
Static
fandom in
Shock
general,
and
I would not be
Beetle.
surprised if people are
Just saying.
asking this question every single year for the next several
Love Solo,
years.
but
My early theory on the very long term of this is that at the very least, he will stick around through his first big Justice League team up, and we will see after that. Like, it's too far in advance, like too many years in the future to accurately predict stuff. Really, we can only guess what's going to happen in the next like 1 to 2 years. I had a lot of fun talking to him one-on-one. Click here for my video for that, and click here for my new Superman Man of Tomorrow video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next
I didn't even mean to click that. Anyways, let me get back over here. Alright, we ain't here, y'all. God, I hated hearing. What was it? I hated hearing the name Man of Tomorrow, bro. That got on my nerves. Every video I click on, it's Man of Tomorrow, Man of Tomorrow, Man of Tomorrow. Like, I don't care about that. Like, before Peacemaker even wrapped up, they was talking about Man of Tomorrow, bro. It's like, let's just enjoy Peacemaker, bro. We can get to that later. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Appreciate y'all for listening, watching, whatever. We out.